conviction really comes down to making sure you know why you're doing something, right? Give me 1 second. Let me shut my door. Conviction really comes down to making sure you know why you're doing it, right? Give me 1 second. Let me shut my door. So if you don't know why you're doing something, then it's going to be hard to convince yourself to keep doing it, right? So that conviction piece is a really important part of investing, and that comes down to what we might call your thesis. Your thesis is, why do I believe that this move is the right move? Why do I believe that this business is the right business? Why did I buy stock in this company? And one thing about buying stock that's interesting to me is a lot of people buy stock because they just look at one thing. They look at the price and they'll look at something like maybe the price trend and which direction the price has been going, and that's not really a high conviction way to make investments, because what happens is that if the trend changes, if all you're doing is you're buying it because it's trendy and whatever, then when the trend changes, then your investment behavior is going to change. So that means that generally speaking, you can't withstand a stock a stock's volatility if you aren't sure why you're holding on to it. Because if the trend is the number one thing that brought you in, then that means that if the trend changes and goes negative, then you're going to say, "Oh, the trend's different now, so I'm going to stop doing it." It reminds me of the Wiz when the Wiz would tell everybody singing, or he would sing that or tell everybody that the color is red, and then everybody be walking around in red, and they'd be like, I wouldn't be caught dead without red, right? And then he'd be like, no, 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 the color's green, and then next thing you know, everybody's wearing green. And so investing in a way, if you think that way, if you're just sort of a trend follower, it's a lot harder to stick to things in general, really in life. It's harder to stick to a marriage. It's harder to stick to your principles, right? Things like that. So really, that the consciousness aspect of that, in my opinion, comes down to like figuring out like who am I, what do I believe, what do I want, what do I think, and if you bring that down, extrapolate that into investing in a company, then you have to come to your own internal conclusion regarding why that company is a place you want to have money. That way, you've accepted in advance that there's going to be good times and bad times, ups and downs, but you're okay with that, right? That actually, believe it or not, belief strengthens an investment. The more people believe in something, the more people stick with it, right? So ultimately, the question is, what do you believe? Some people believe nothing, right? Or some people only believe things that other people tell them to believe. And if you notice, people like that are not very good at succeeding or making money because they're just sort of following whatever the crowd is doing. Okay, so don't think that way. Remember, bring out that inner visionary in yourself, and also be willing to make mistakes and feel a little bit stupid sometimes. So let me take you guys to my Instagram real quick to so we can kind of see a little bit of what's going on here. I'll start here with this. All right, give me a second. Let me share my screen. All right, so here on Instagram, first off, there is, as I mentioned, gold prices keep going up. Jewelers are kind of concerned about that. I talked about that a second ago, so I won't belabor that point. And I did a little video about it. Oh, this is a video I did with, I used Sora too, and I decided to make like a stupid little Martin Luther King video. I know some people will think it's sacrilegious to do that, but it's just chalking up to me being a little bit silly and immature. And so I made this video. I thought it was kind of funny, so let me show it to you. It's very short though. It's only like 10 seconds. Let me see. Let me share my sound. Here we go. All right. So let me turn the audio on.
Student loans in 2020.
Hold on. Here we go. Let me go.
Hey, what's going on? I had a dream, but I did not dream y'all would still be paying student loans in 2025.
Okay.
I
So
had a
so Dr. King's dream was not that you'd be paying student loans in your 60s and stuff like that. But what's really funny is, and I know, I probably shouldn't be doing that, right? But whatever. But the thing about that too, if you really think about it, one of the things that Dr. King would probably be reflecting on right now is one of the challenges of the civil rights movement integration is that we did trade land and businesses in for corporate jobs and student loans. If you look at the debt levels of Black college graduates now, obviously it's much higher than it would have been back in Dr. King's time. Back in Dr. King's time, if a man or a woman wanted to succeed, they would go out maybe and start a business. They go buy some property. They go out and or get a good job and save their money. My grandma was in her 30s when Dr. King was here, and my grandma was not a person who ever believed that it made sense to go borrow $100,000 to get a college degree. My grandmother was the person who would take her money and she would give 10% to the Lord at church. She would put 10% in her savings, and then even the rest of that, and then she'd go pay her bills, and then even whatever's left, she would save that too. So really, it's kind of satirical, and I wasn't thinking that deeply about this when I made this video. Was testing the software. I thought it was kind of funny, but really, it speaks to, in my opinion, if you really want to sort of take that student loan topic and tie it to Dr. King, the question is, what is the dream? What was Dr. King's dream? Was it the right dream? I don't think it was the right dream because even he said it wasn't the right dream. Even he talked about integrating into a burning house. If you remember when Dr. King died, he was a very young man. He was much younger than I am. He was 16 years younger than me, approximately, and I think he was just transitioning. And at that time, literally at that stage in my life, I can remember I did a lot of things differently at 38 than I do right now. At 38, I was really enthusiastic about the election of Barack Obama. I really thought that that was going to be just a game changer for the black community. And over the next probably 4 years of dealing with the administration, I became a little bit saddened in that I did not feel that that was something that was really going to move the needle, and I began to get more hip to how the game actually works. So I remember I sat next to Al Sharpton for many hundreds of hours. I would go to New York, and he'd invite me on his radio station, and I have so much respect for his intelligence. By the way, he may sound a little funny when he talks, but this man is not a stupid man. He is one of the smartest people I've ever sat next to. And remember, I'm a college professor, so I can, I evaluate intelligence very closely. And he remembered everybody's name. He could remember all these relationships, and he would tell the best stories. He was the most amazing storyteller ever. But being next to him also made me say, I don't know if this is for me. This really isn't, I thought this was the pathway. I thought the civil rights route was the route for black people. And I remember just seeing that it felt like there was a game being played. Like there was kind of some sort of manipulation happening, almost as if it's like, or, the goal is to manage black people and not really to elevate the masses. And maybe it's just, giving up and just saying, there's no way we can elevate everybody. It's too hard, right? So you've got the boule and the elite, and they get opportunities, right? They get to hang out next to the politicians and they get the nice fancy jobs. And then my question is always like, well, what about the rest of us? And also the question is, why is it that when I go to a black neighborhood, I do have this higher probability of being shot than I do if I'm in other neighborhoods? I mean, let's just, I don't know why people were so afraid to talk about that, but believe me, there's parts of the west side of Chicago that you do not go to at night. You ain't gonna be hanging out on Old Block down on the south side if you know anything about Chicago, right? So why is this happening? Why is no one paying attention, right? So that led to my own journey, my own discovery. So with Dr. King, I believe if Dr. King was still here, I think his message would have transformed. If you remember, toward the end of his life, he gave that famous speech where he said, "Cut me my check, cut me my check, cut me my check." And basically, we were owed money. We needed the wealth. He started to see where the wealth was. Malcolm got it. Malcolm talked about the wealth his whole life. Marcus Garvey talked about it. Dr. Claude Anderson was around, a young man at this time. He spoke on these issues. So it's not like we didn't always know that the money mattered. I think what happens is that we end up just getting distracted, right? And this is why consciousness is so important, is because a conscious person is in enough of a meditative state that they know what the assignment is, right? They know why they're here. They know what the goal is. And the same thing is true with stocks. When I was telling you earlier, what's the dang assignment? When you're making your investments and you're buying a stock, what is the goal? Why are you here? What are you doing? Right? And by reminding yourself of that every day, that'll keep you from being distracted by all of the things that are designed to get your attention. Really, I kid you not. I think one thing I can offer some support to you on is I can tell you if I tell you about my life, um, I am not super famous. I'm more like internet famous or something. I don't know. I go places, people know who I am. I've gone to night. I was in the club one time, and the DJ goes, "We got the Boyce Watkins in the building, y'all." I'm holding up my glass. I had some water in it or something. I don't even drink, right? So I got that kind of stuff, right? It was in Vegas, right? And I saw Michael Baisden in there, and it was just like this thing. I was like, wow, look at this. I feel like a rapper right now. But I have a lot of stuff happening around me. That's my point. And one thing I really concluded a long time ago is if you try to get some work done, you got to stay focused. You got to put up some kind of blinder to, to make sure the main thing always stays the main thing. And actually, Will Smith said something 25 years ago that I listened to when I was in my 20s that stuck with me, where he basically was saying that like he was talking about family, and he was saying the reason that my family fell apart is because I put my career first, and I said I'm going to give my family the time that's left over. And he said if you're really ambitious and you're really investing time in a significant way, there's going to be nothing left over. So whatever you leave to the leftovers is going to get left over. It's going to get looked over. It's going to get abandoned, left behind, etc. So the black community is kind of like that. Like we are the leftovers of society. That's why your community gets looked over, forgotten. It's never part of anybody's significant policy agenda. So here's the point: when you're talking about building wealth or building all the thing, all the manifestations of wealth that exist in your life, not just the money. I'm talking about everything that matters for you. You got to make it part of the agenda. You got to make the main thing the main thing. And everything can't be the main thing. Politicians are liars to me because they will tell you that everything is the main thing, but everything can't be the main thing. The main thing is the main thing. So in my life, I ask myself every day, I say, Boyce, what is the main thing? Okay, I know you're distracted by this over here, but what's the main thing? Yeah, yeah, I know you so and so wants you to go do this and do this and do that, but is that part of the main thing? Is that part of the agenda? Is that one of our big rocks for this quarter or this year that we're trying to accomplish? And if the answer is no, then say no, I do not have time for that. That's going to be in the leftover, looked over, not addressed part of my life because I got to make the main thing the main thing. So, what are the main things? Basic things for me. Getting up and going to the gym, working out because I don't want to, I don't want to die sooner than I have to. Two, the kids taking Taylor to school every morning. That's the main thing. It's like I'll take an hour, 45 minutes, get her to school so we can talk. What else? Spending time with my wife. That's the main thing. Working, getting with you guys every morning. This is the only thing. This is the only standing appointment I have on my schedule every single day. There's no other appointment I have every day because I said, what's the main thing? Was why are you here? Well, I want black people to embrace wealth. I need us doing it. I need us to know what to do and to do it and have the confidence and to be the best, to be the greatest. Not just catch up, not just equality. To hell with equality. I want you to go past. Equality is for people with low self-esteem. That's how I look at it. Equality is for the other suckers out here that don't believe that somehow put white people on a pedestal or don't believe that we're as great as we are or don't believe in themselves yet. No, equality is for suckers to me. No, I'm talking about winning. There's no winner on earth that's ever said I want to finish the race in a tie. No, you want to win. That's what we're trying to do. So because that's the main thing, I invest my time to make sure that okay, every day I'm going to be here at 9 a.m. or Central, 10 a.m. Eastern. That's what time we meet every day because this is important for me, right? And there's a few other things, right? So maybe what you might do is pick like five things that are just your main thing, right? Maybe your health, your relationship, your business, or whatever, or knowledge, learning something. If you're trying to get through school, then school has to be one of the main things, and then make that your world, right? Make that 95% of your universe, and then everything else has to live on the outside for a while until you can get around to it or whatever. Because if you don't, then what'll happen is you'll try to do so many things that you'll get nothing done. Right? You'll be pulled into every Twitter conversation every time your phone buzzes or beeps and the dopamine spikes. You'll want to find out what somebody said about you on Instagram. You'll be out here just some guys out here chasing women and stuff like that. I saw something the other day actually that was really interesting with Allen Iverson. I saw Allen Iverson mention that he's 5 years sober. I don't know if anybody saw that, and I was really happy for him, but that kind of made me sad because it's a challenge for me when we figure things out at 50 that somebody could have explained to us when we were 20, right? Like before you blew through $100 million, and that I thought that was interesting. And so I saw Iverson mention that he'd been sober I think he said 6 months or so. But anyway, being sober, right? Which is great, which is great. And it was on the shade room, and I did make a comment, and I said four things can bring a black man down and destroy everything he has. That's sex, if they're not done in moderation: sex, drugs, alcohol, gambling. Those are four addictions that men have to watch, and if they're not trained to watch them early, if they're trained to go into excess, one of those four things will probably destroy them. So for Allen, I'm guessing a lot. I think all four. I think, or I don't know about the drugs part. That part I don't know, but I know the other three: the alcohol, the sex, and the gambling, pretty heavy, right? And that's part of that culture. And if you look at how many times men lose tremendous amounts of wealth because of they've gone into excess in any of those three or four areas. There's the examples are too numerous to count. Shannon Sharp, just lost 20, 30 million, maybe 40, 50 million because of sex, right? Not judging him, but it's true. You have alcohol. Alcohol actually, people don't know the high cost of alcohol. Alcohol actually is the most dangerous drug in America. That actually was scientists concluded it was the most dangerous drug in America because basically people think it's safe. Everybody thinks it's okay. So the way the devil, you ever hear people say that the devil, the way the devil gets his power is by convincing you he doesn't exist. How many of you ever heard that? Anybody ever heard your pastor say that before? That the devil, what he does is the devil doesn't want you fighting him. He wants you to put up no resistance because the devil wants you to think that he's your friend. He wants you to think that an asset is, or that a liability is an asset. He wants you to think that down is actually up. He wants you to think that bad is actually good. And because not only then will you not only then can they conquer you, but in addition to that, you'll put up no barrier to that negative thing because you don't see it as a negative thing. And even worse is that you will also play a role in your own self-destruction. Do you understand? Like you literally, do you understand the three levels? There's three layers to this, right? If somebody wants to break into my house, the worst way for them to break into my house is to say, I'm going to break into your house and I'm going to steal everything you got. And then, because then they'd have to fight me. I'd call the police. I'd have my gun out. I'd be ready. I'd have my defenses up. So a better way for them to break into my house might be, let's say, for them to come by when I'm not home, and then I'll put up no resistance. Or they rob you when you're asleep, right? When you're unconscious, that's when they'll come take your stuff. That's a better way. But the best way is if they're slick enough, and this is how the devil works. This is why the devil's in the details. The devil will sneak up and like literally convince you to not just let him into the house, but you'll be helping him carry the stuff. You'll be helping him carry the furniture. You'll be like, okay, here, let me show you where the expensive jewelry is, right? So the devil doesn't just, and this is what I think this is what racism does to black folks. I really believe this. I believe that what's so slick about it is that not only do we not put up the opposition, but we actually will participate in our own self-destruction. We will jam along and bop our heads along to the very music that's designed to put your 18-year-old son in prison, that's designed to get your other son murdered, that's designed to get your daughter on drugs, that's designed to literally heighten every toxic behavior that a person can have. How sinister is it that you have a whole music industry built on creating black drug addiction? Right? Like literally that's glorifying the drug dealer and the drug addict, making your children aspire to become drug addicts, which is the lowest level of society you could ever have. So I would just say in general, going back to the Iverson thing, I think what makes me sad about Iverson is that he was a great man. If you saw Allen Iverson as a basketball player, this man was fun. If you're a basketball fan, you would know how phenomenal this man was. I mean, he was as short as Mickey Mouse, but this guy did things that were just absolutely superhuman. I'm completely convinced that if he were as tall as Michael Jordan, he would have been as good as Michael Jordan. I really believe that he had the same, heart, same everything, right? But unfortunately, the culture is what I think got him, right? Culture, 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 culture. That's why in my book, The Ten Commandments of Black Economic Power, I write so much about culture because you understand wealth, the growing of wealth is a culture. The protection of wealth is a culture. So imagine if Allen Iverson had grown up in a different culture. Imagine if he grew up in a culture where he had, and remember, from as a child, he didn't. I don't think he had a father around. He probably had father figures, coaches that saw his talent and saw that, but I don't think he really had that father that was right there on his butt saying, "Why are you doing that? That's stupid. You shouldn't be doing that." Right? So Iverson, maybe what can happen with some of these guys, they can become men too early. They become the man of the house and they start thinking they're making man decisions and that they're bad decisions because they don't have a stronger man there to tell them like don't do that. That doesn't make any sense. So what happened with Iverson that I saw that I think was really unfortunate was I saw a guy who did extraordinary things on the basketball court, but he would do the craziest things in the world when it came to money. He would go to a city and buy a whole wardrobe, and then he would leave the city and leave all the clothes in the hotel room. And then because he could just buy a whole new wardrobe in the next city. So he would just go city to city and buy a new wardrobe in every city. And I've heard other wealthy people do crazy things like that. I think Floyd Mayweather went to Atlanta. He wanted a car for the weekend, so he bought a Mercedes, and then he didn't want to keep it, so he left it. He just abandoned the car at the airport when he went home because there's so much money flowing around. And if you're not trained on what money is, you're not trained that the money is actually capital. The capital is supposed to be preserved. Then what can happen is you're literally destroying so much more than just the amount of money you spend. So if I waste $1 million, I'm not just wasting $1 million. No, I'm not wasting $1 million. I'm wasting everything that $1 million could have become. Right. So that $1 million, if you invest it over, a generation, becomes, $10 million or something. Right. So I didn't waste 1 million. I wasted 10 million. Right. And effectively, the lack of consciousness, the lack of financial consciousness can cause me to say, hey, I got a pocket full of money. I'm a celebrity. I'm going to do what the hell I want to do. And so if I want to go and spend $100,000 at strip club, I'm going to do it. Well, what makes you even think that that is even normal behavior to begin with? That is absurd behavior. That's ridiculous behavior. It's highly immature. It's almost pathetic behavior. But we, because of the culture and those who manipulate the culture, again, the devil's in the details, the culture tells you that this is perfectly normal. Yeah, of course it makes sense to go put $100,000 in stripper thongs, right? And so effectively, culture is everything. So imagine if Allen Iverson, Floyd Mayweather, all these guys came from a different culture. Let's say they came from a culture like, I don't know. I remember Floyd Mayweather fought this guy named Manny Pacquiao. If you remember, Manny Pacquiao had a different culture. Manny Pacquiao's culture said, when you go out and you become wealthy, you're supposed to take care of not just yourself, you take care of the whole hood. Do anybody remember Manny Pacquiao? How many of y'all remember that? Any boxing fans in here? Let me know if you know that name, Manny Pacquiao. Well, if you recall, when Manny Pacquiao got a bunch of money, the main thing he did with his money was he took care of his whole village or something. He gave houses to everybody. It was something crazy like that, and that's a manifestation of the culture. Whereas at the same time, Floyd Mayweather was doing the whole money Mayweather stuff, showing off jewels and chains and $10,000 Gucci bags and stuff like that, because that was his culture. Or imagine if Iverson or Mayweather came from a culture of extreme discipline. Let's say that Allen Iverson was a Mormon, and I don't think Mormons drink and stuff like that. So imagine if he came from a culture. Iverson mentioned he had a drinking problem. So imagine if he came from a culture where a man shows his masculinity by how disciplined he is. He shows masculinity by not drinking, not smoking, not using drugs, not going to excesses when it comes to women, being economically intelligent, doing like the Mormons do. I don't know if you know the story about the Mormons. The Mormons were in the cover of the Wall Street Journal at one point, and the reason they were on the cover of the Wall Street Journal is because they found out that the Mormons secretly had like $100 billion, like that they didn't tell anybody about. It was something like that. Like they didn't go, they didn't say, hey y'all, player, I got 100 billion over here. Right? They didn't do all that. They wasn't flashing, they wasn't doing like, look at my watch, y'all. You ain't got 100 billion. Let me show you my cash out. Right? They didn't do that. No, they literally had $100 billion. And I think that it was a big deal because nobody knew they had so much freaking money. I don't think they were necessarily hiding it per se, but it was something where they didn't really exactly announce it. They just had a whole bunch of cash, and people were like, "Oh my God, how did these people get all this money?" That's a lot of economic power. And if you know the history of Salt Lake City and the Mormons, they started with nothing. And Brigham Young literally gathered a bunch. They were being persecuted, and he gathered a whole bunch of Mormons, like 250 families, and they all got in their little covered wagons, and they all went west together to go find the Great Salt Lake. They were looking for the Great Salt Lake. And on the way there, like a third of them died, got killed by Native Americans, stuff like that. But the ones that made it got there. And when they got there, there were no jobs. They didn't say, "Well, let me go look for a job. If I need money, if I'm gonna survive, I need a job." There were no jobs. They didn't go look for a restaurant to go eat at. They had to create the economy. They had to plant the potatoes, and they didn't have a bank to go to. So the guy who had a stove would say, I'll keep everybody's, we'll make a currency and I'll keep all your valuable stuff in my stove. Then they didn't have like a dentist office. So the dentist was like the person that put the shoes on the horses, right? Somehow horseshoeing is, they assumed if you can do that, you can work on somebody's teeth, right? Just crazy stuff like that. They built where they stood. That's what I'm saying. They developed. There was business development. It was not business management. You don't start with business management. You start with business development. If you want to build a community, you develop the community. So for us, we have hundreds of thousands of kids that go to college and learn business management, but we don't have that same number learning business development. So if you ever wonder why the black community doesn't really have an economic community or its own economic ecosystem, the question you must then ask yourself is, are we even trained to even do that? Do we have that ability to do what Brigham Young and his posse did and go out west and find some land that nobody's using and just build from the ground up? There are families actually out there doing that though. There are black families that own hundreds of acres and they're building little towns, and we don't talk about them as much, but they're out there. They're out there, right? So really, circling back, culture is everything. Culture is everything. That's my point. So if Iverson came from a culture, let's say he came from a culture that was about wealth preservation, like the Trumps. Let's say that one of the Trump kids was the next Allen Iverson, and he went out and made $100 million playing in the NBA. Well, by the time he turned 35, that 100 million would be $2.5 billion, because they would say, "Son, what in the hell? We heard you spent $100,000 at the strip club. You don't. That's not appropriate, son. You want to put your money into crypto and stocks and this real estate deal, so that money will actually grow." So culture, 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 culture. And so what you got to do is, if you want to understand the economics, don't look at what somebody's education is. Look at their culture. Their culture will override the education. And I'm a living example of that. I had a ton of education on finance and investing. I was the number one finance student in college. That's why I got that award. But I didn't invest in college because it wasn't part of my culture. I didn't know nobody in my family who's investing. Investing was something that white people did, and it was something that lived in a book. That's what investing was for me, and I'm ashamed to say it, but that investing didn't really become real for me until I was about 30, 32, 33 years old. I think it was my 401k at Syracuse, which they actually is called a 403b. But I started investing through the 403b, and I began to think and challenge myself and say, "Oh my God, that's kind of crazy. Like here I am, I got a whole PhD in this stuff, but in my mind, because of my culture, 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 culture." I thought that my PhD was designed to do one thing for me, and that was to get me a good job. That was it. That was it. And how many of you grew up in that same mindset? A lot of us do. Go to school, make good grades, and then you can get a good job. He went to the job fair. Everybody wanted him. All the companies wanted him. That's what we like. We like that. We like that idea of being wanted. And then we never really ask, like, well, why do they want you so bad? Well, because they're about to rob your black ass. That's why they want you so bad, because they can extract wealth out of you. Why does Trump have ships on the shores of Venezuela? Well, the president got it right. The president of Venezuela was like, because they want our oil. That's why they kicking it over here. That's why they hanging out with us. When we got something that they want. If they didn't have something that they wanted, Venezuela wouldn't be the country there's a lot of countries they could have their warships next to Venezuela. Well, because they've got a lot of oil, right? And so at the end of the day, when somebody really wants you, instead of being all excited about the fact that they want you should probably ask, like, well, what's in it for you? What are you really getting out of this? Why? And sometimes it's nothing sinister. Sometimes it's just like, hey, I just want to make a deal with you. Here's how we benefit. Here's how you benefit. That's fair. Nothing wrong with that. And, employment does not have to be exploitative. I'm not saying that that's the case. I'm saying that in many cases, it actually is, especially when you don't know your worth. And it's not just about knowing your worth, it's about knowing how to extract value from your worth, right? So if somebody shows up, let's say I got oil in my backyard, right? And there's lots of wealth in that yard. And somebody shows up and they says, and I open the door, yes, Mr. Watkins, are you Boyce Watkins? Yeah, yes, I am. Well, sir, we are from the Mighty White Oil Company, And we heard, sir, that you have oil in your backyard, and we like to come in and help you drill for this oil. And I might say, okay, of course you do, because there's lots of oil, and I understand that. Well, then my first thought should probably be like, okay, I know why you're here. And you being here to get the oil makes sense. So what if I then say, well, no, you can't come in here because you're going to exploit me. You're going to come take my oil and you're going to come make money for yourself by going into my backyard and drilling for this oil because it's my oil, right? That would be a good place to start the conversation. But the problem with that conversation is I have to ask myself deeper questions. Like I'd have to say, okay, number one, what are they offering me in exchange for drilling the oil? Maybe they're gonna offer me, maybe we can negotiate a fair deal, right? That like the 50-50 or whatever, I get the majority of the money or something like that. But then the bigger question that I would ask is if they walk away and they say, okay, all right, fine, whatever, we're gone, do I have the ability to go drill the oil myself? Because if I ain't got no equipment and I don't know nothing about drilling oil, then I'm going to sit there with all this wealth and not be able to extract it. So I'm better off even taking a bad deal with this oil company than I am taking no deal at all. So what does this speak to? This speaks to the fact that number one, when somebody wants you and they're smoozing with you because you've got the oil in your backyard, you should say, you should have a healthy skepticism. Instead of being excited about the fact that they like you, because we spend too much time worrying about who likes black people. I don't give a damn who likes black people. I really don't. I don't care who likes me. Because people will like you if they're going to get something from you. If your daughter sleeps with the whole football team, everybody's going to like your daughter. But that's not a good like. That's not a good look for you or your family. Nobody wants their daughter to be that popular. I hope that you don't, right? So being liked is not any form of power. It doesn't mean a whole lot if you're being liked for the wrong reasons. Let's just be clear. Lots of people like black people because we entertain them. They can get wealth out of us. They can take things from us. They can steal our money, our votes, and our self-esteem and our attention. And of course they like black people, right? Who wouldn't like somebody that was allowing them to rob them blind? So being liked should not be the goal. The question at the end of the day is like, okay, well, why do you like me? And once I figure out what you're getting out of it, I have to say, well, what am I getting out of it? But then also, when I'm trying to figure out what I get out of it and I'm negotiating how that balance is going to play out, I have to reflect on what skill sets I have to maximize my own value without their help or their support. So part of the reason that so many black people have to go work for white people, I know they don't do you right. I know they treat you like crap on the job. I know that a lot of you have faced racial discrimination on the job. But then the question that you have to ask yourself is when you were being raised, when you went to school as a little boy or a little girl, did any black person who loved you take you to the side and say, let me show you how to drill for the oil that's in your backyard? Let me show you how to extract the value that God gave you. You got a lot of talent. Let me show you how to get that talent out on your own so you can negotiate a better deal because then at the end of the day, you'll have the holy grail of finance, which is options. You'll have options. People who have options have an easier time negotiating. So, for example, if I go to a law firm and they say, well, we want to pay you 300,000 a year, and I say, well, that's a crappy deal because I'm going to make you at least 2 or 3 million. Um, it's one thing if I see the value that I'm giving you. It's another thing if I have a credible threat and I have true options and I say, yeah, I either have a bunch of other firms that are willing to offer me more money. That's one possibility. Or two, I know how to get together with my friends and create a law firm. It's going to take us a little longer, but eventually we're going to extract that value that you're seeking and we're going to keep 100% of that value. Do you understand? Right now, and what you might see is you might say, and then at that point, what it goes from is it goes from subordination to collaboration. See, integration is not a problem. Integrate all the Asians, the integration, the subordination, the collaboration. Those are all different concepts. Integration is fine, and there's nothing wrong with integration. People think I'm against integration. You believe in segregation? No, I do. I believe in fairness, right? So integration was a problem because it was built on subordination. Subordination was okay. You Negroes have no options. You have no skills because we're going to make sure you have no skills because we're going to make sure you send all your kids to our schools so we can make sure that they don't know how to do anything other than depend on us. And then when we pull you in, because we like black people, then we're gonna make your life miserable, but you're not gonna be able to do anything about it because you'll have no power. Why will you have no power? Because you have no freedom and you have no options. Power, freedom, and options are all connected, right? So what we should be doing, the reason that we believe in the Black Business School, that every black child should learn to start a business by the age of 12, that black children should be educated by black people, is because when you're educated in the right way by people who truly love you and truly have your best interests at heart and truly want you to be free, strong, powerful, and everything else, then you're going to end up having options. You'll know little things like how to develop a business so that you don't feel that a job is your only choice. Do you understand what I'm saying? Does everybody get what I'm saying here? I know I'm talking a lot, but I hope that you see the economic lesson in what I'm saying. I know we don't went from Allen Iverson to warships in Venezuela but that's what I do. I can't help it. That's just God. God does this. He tells me what to say. I'm just a vessel, right? So my point is to say that options are the key. Options are the key. If you want to have power, give yourself options. If you want to win, then get your family like just saying, look, let's sit down and we're gonna figure out 15 different ways to make money. That way, when you go out here and you look for a job, which you may choose to do, you'll never, ever, 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 ever be backed into a corner where somebody can just beat you up, slap you around, and kick you in your ass, and you can't do nothing about it. That's the thing that bothers me. It bothers me to see my people being abused. It bothers me to see people I love being hurt. It bothers me to be in a football game where we're losing by 100 points. I don't think that's what we have to do. But in order for you to start winning, you have to change the strategy. You have to have honest conversations with yourself. Like, okay, what are we doing? Why do we keep fumbling the ball? Why are we throwing the bag away? Like, what's really going on here? Because the thing is that the black community has far more than its spending power. We always talk about black spending power, and first of all, there's no power in spending. Like spending, that's an oxymoron. That's not it's like whole power. Like my power is that I'm a whole. Like that's it's not there's nothing powerful about that. Like really so spending is and to some extent we end up becoming the economic holes of society where every corporation knows that if they want to make a profit they just sell things to black people, right? Because we just give our money away. But our spending power is not our greatest form of economic power. What's really the most powerful is not what we spend, it's what we have. It's who we are. It's what we can. It's what we're capable of doing. And so when you have that much power, in my opinion, it's very important for you to understand what's going on here. What's happening in the black community. What I visualize us having a backyard full of oil. What's our oil? Our oil is our wealth. It's all the things that we are able to do for ourselves and others that generate wealth and income for others. Starting with our entertainment, our athletes are the best athletes on the planet. We have just an amazing amount of creativity. We have a ton of labor, like young people, they provide labor, right? So the goal, in my opinion, is that if you want to extract or improve black wealth, is you have to develop early in millions of children the skill set required to go drill for that oil that's in the backyard. You have to be able to drill for that oil. Because what happens for black people is that you're exposed to a type of risk that others are not exposed to. You can't really collaborate like everybody else. You know, Jewish people can collaborate with other white people, and it's not a big deal. Asian people can collaborate because Asians don't have the brand damage that black people have struggled with. African Americans just have a tougher time because for 400 years, this country has been trained for people to just hate you, just not even like you. They're judging you before they even meet you. And so, what that does is that undermines your ability to reach your economic potential within an ecosystem where you're surrounded by these people who have all these preconceived biases against you, where you come from, what you represent, all these things. You're constantly having to prove yourself. Anybody ever go into that where you're black and you do a job and you constantly have to prove yourself? Like you're a lawyer and you constantly got to remind them that you're not the defendant. Like that brother that was on that video, or you're a scientist and the white scientists assume that because you're a black woman you don't know what you're talking about, right? Or take it. I mean, I'm a black PhD in finance. I was the top student in my class, but no one believes it because I guess I look like somebody they saw on TV that was on his way to prison. I have no idea. I have no idea. But it sucks. It's not fun. And not only is it not fun, it's not fair. And not only is it not fair, but it's actually damaging to your economic potential. It is. You could give birth right now to a child that is as brilliant as Elon Musk right now. You could give birth to a little black boy that is literally the black Elon Musk. Let's call him Belon. Belon Musk. You could literally give birth to little Belon, And he could do exactly the same things Elon did, live the exact same life, make the exact same choices in every single situation, and he will not be worth $500 billion. He might be worth 100 million, but he won't be worth $500 billion. Why is that? Well, because for Elon to become Elon, he had to go borrow $80 billion or 100 billion from different people that had to look at him and say, I trust that this guy is going to pay me back. I trust this guy's vision is going to become real, right? Trust, belief. People got to believe in you to invest in you. If you don't, this is where financial psychology is big. That's why I call this class financial consciousness, because you don't understand how deeply embedded economics and money are, how deeply connected they are, right? Because in order for somebody to loan you, $10 billion to go start a rocket company, they got to really have a lot of faith. They got to be willing to go out and die on that hill with you. And unfortunately, when you show up and your black ass walks in the room, all these stereotypes are already popping up because of everything that they've seen in media. That's even immigrants come to America and they don't like black people because the media told them what they think black people are. So ultimately, because of that, that really I think necessitates the requirement that you have the ability to invest in yourself and invest in your community and not invest in yourself in a way that's going to lead to this unhealthy codependence on a racist economy for you to survive. I'm talking about investing in yourself, like learn how to develop a dang business, learn how to start with nothing and create something, learn how to be an economic playmaker in your life where you can take nothing and turn it into something. You can start the business, you can acquire the real estate, you can own the stock. You have to do this. Let me explain it another way. Here's another way to look at this. Let's talk about the stock market. When a CEO has a company, imagine this. Imagine you're a CEO and you've got a company and you know that this company is worth far more than the world believes it is worth, right? Your stock price has plummeted and your valuation has hit a certain number, but you know your company's worth more. You know that as soon as certain things materialize, that sucker's going to go to the moon. Well, let me tell you what CEOs do in that situation. What they do is they do something called a stock buyback. Has anybody ever heard of the term stock buyback? Anybody? Give me a yes if you've heard of it. And I'll explain how it works and what it is very quickly. You'll get it. It's really easy. So basically, what they're doing is they go out and they say, okay, since you don't see my worth, since you don't see the value of our company right now, you think our stock is worth $50, but really I think it's worth 60. Then what they do is they will go and they will purchase their own stock. They'll say, cool, you don't want it. Well, then I want it. I'm going to go buy it. And right. And in many cases, what will happen after a stock buyback is that the stock price will typically go up a little bit for various mechanical reasons. But one of the biggest reasons is psychological. It's like, oh, well, you're investing in yourself. So that must mean you know something that I don't know. This is what connected to something called information asymmetry. Information asymmetry is very easy. All it means is that you know more about yourself and your business than I do. So if I see you investing in you, then that means that maybe you see something that I don't see. So maybe that means you're a good investment, which in my eyes will raise the value that I see in what you're doing. That's why the first question I ask people whenever they ask me to invest in a business with them or something is I say, well, how much have you invested? And if they say, well, I haven't invested anything, then that to me says, my mind goes, oh, so you want me to take all the risk. You want me to put my money up behind something that you won't even invest in, right? You ain't willing to put nothing up, but you want me to put my money up? I'm not taking that deal, sir. No, thank you. However, if you say, oh, yeah, I put my life savings into this business and I've been working on it nonstop for the last 10 years, well, that's a little different. I'm like, oh, okay, so you're really willing to die on this hill, huh? You really believe in this thing. Okay, well, that increases my belief. That increases your credibility. The best way to ever increase your credibility is to show and prove. Put your money where your mouth is. Put your ass on the line. When you put your ass on the line, then people will say, "Oh, okay, so you're serious about this." That's why the first big investor in anything you do has to be you. Nine times out of ten, you got to be the first invest. Before I could ever convince anybody that Boyce Watkins was any good at anything and was worth listening to, I had to be his biggest investor, his biggest backer from the very beginning. It was For a while, it was me, God and my mama. That was it. Those are my three initial investors because mama will invest in you all the way to the end, right? And God don't never leave us. And I have my baby brother. That was it. That was it. And so ultimately, what I would say to you is that in the black community, I would argue that it's a similar situation in this sense. We know our value. How many of you know, how many of you have just can understand when I tell you how valuable our families are, how valuable our children are, how valuable our talent is? Put a yes in the chat if you agree. How valuable we are in terms of our creativity, our capability, our labor, all these things. Really, I mean, there's so many things that when you get a black man that's laser focused, he can't be stopped because he's overcome so much more than anybody else ever could. Black women, baddest women on the planet. You hire a solid team of black women, they will build a rocket ship to Mars and by Tuesday. Like they're amazing, right? That's why I love that Tyler Perry movie where he had the black women that went in and did the impossible job and got it done at a level of excellence that white people couldn't even imagine. That's how we are. That's how extraordinary we are. So if you believe in this value, the problem that you have is that unfortunately the rest of the world does not see that value, right? They don't see our worth. Would you agree with that? Would you agree that others do not see our worth the way we see it? Give me a yes if you agree with that statement. Simple questions will lead to a complex answer. So yes or no. Do you agree with that? Right. They do not see our value. So we see our value. They don't see our value. So when someone doesn't see your value, but you know the value's there, you've got two choices. You can either beg them to see your value. You can spend all this time saying, "Look at me, look 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 at me. Do you like me? Do you like me? Do you like me?" Right? That's what you can do. And that, in my opinion, devalues yourself and it's not very effective. Or you can do what the CEOs do. CEOs say, "Okay, you don't see the value? That's cool. I'm gonna go invest in me because I know the values here." Right? So like Constance Carter, who's in the Black Business School, she did a great little video where she said, the Trump administration led to the firings of 300,000 Black women lost their jobs, and this was wrong, this is terrible, etc. But what I love about Constance is Constance then flipped it and said, now they're gonna fuck around and find out. She said, because Black women are the most capable, most industrious group of people on the entire planet. That has unlocked and unleashed the potential of millions of black women who've always wanted to start that business, who always known what they were capable of doing, who have extraordinary ability, who are now going to start their own ventures, who are going to get together and form these entities that are going to be very powerful, very competitive. So my point is to say that when you find that the world does not see your value, then you could do what the CEOs do. You do a buyback. You invest in what is required for you to extract the value on your own. And the challenge behind that, though, is that it typically requires a skill set that's different from the skills that you needed in order to go work for white folks. There's a certain skill set required to go get a job, to do job interviews, to fill out the applications and all that. There's another skill set required to start the business or to make the investment. There's a different way of thinking. There's a different type of risk tolerance required. So I would say that this has to not just be something that's transformational in the moment. I think it should be generationally transformational. I think that we should have entire systems and curriculums designed around making sure that our children are going to have investors whether the world accepts them or not. That means that if they have a great idea and nobody else wants to buy into it, they can start that business. If they have people around them that are capable of doing amazing things, they'll know how to piece that together in a systematic way that's going to create the space that allows their value to flourish. Right? I knew my worth as a finance professor, but I don't know if I could have convinced white universities to accept a radical black man like me. So I said, okay, that's fine. Let's just create the Black Business School because I know the value's there. It's not like the value appears because it's been acknowledged by white folks. It's like quantum mechanics. The quantum conversations, like they have this thing called Schrodinger's cat, where they ask these philosophical questions or they'll talk about weird things that happen in quantum physics, like a particle only has mass if it's observed, and if it's not observed, then there's nothing there, or it changes form, right? So really, sometimes we only believe our value is there when others observe it. And what I'm saying to you, and this is a consciousness exercise here, is I'm saying to you is that I really want you to practice observing your own value and see if you can see your own value, even if no one else sees it. because that's I think really critical for Black people because you're at so much risk of other people having a distorted view of you, and if you internalize that too much, then you'll never see your worth. So that's my point on this for today. Educate our own kids because I know how valuable they are. And also, if you want to know little things like I know in our Black Millionaires of Tomorrow program, we have a model. It's called the Sturdy model. We want to build sturdy children. Sturdy stands for it's spelled STERDY, and it stands for Systems, Technology, Entrepreneurship, Relationships, Delegation for the youth. A young person who understands systems knows how to make money because you make money better with a system than through labor. Technology is critical because technology like AI is going to run the world. Entrepreneurship is important because you have to have the ability to create economic entities that are sustainable, not just wait for somebody to give you a job. Relationships are essential because relationships make things easier. If you are good at maintaining healthy relationships, that translates into money. If you want to look at a real life example at the national level, Jensen Huang, the entrepreneur who created NVIDIA, that's now worth $4.5 trillion. The thing I love about Jensen Huang, I wish he was president, to be honest with you. This guy, I love the way he operates. He can get along with anybody. He has healthy relationships with damn near everybody. He could sit next to a guy like Trump and somehow become friends with him, but then he can become friends with Trump's enemies, and because he's focused on the bigger picture. The main thing is the main thing. It's building Nvidia and getting Nvidia into different markets around the world. Then he'll get on a plane and go meet with the leadership in China, right? And I love that because that's a skill that's curated. He learned, somebody taught him that, right? He didn't just wake up like this, right? So relationships, your child knows how to form relationships with others, then they know how to form teams. And when you can form a team, then that means you can go compete because then you say, okay, you play this position, you play that position, and that leads to the D. The D is delegation, knowing how to delegate. There should be a whole class in delegation. Literally, there should be a sturdy class, like learning systems, technology, entrepreneurship, relationships, and delegation. If kids learn these things as children, then they're not just going to make more money than others, but they're going to just be better at really getting things done. Their universe of economic possibilities will go beyond just, I hope somebody hires me this week. Okay. All right. So, anyway, if you want to know about our program, you can go to blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com if you want to take a look at what we're doing with kids in the Black Business School. We have a whole Black Business School for children. We also have financial flashcards, workbooks, all kinds of stuff. Also, if you want to text the word youth to the number 87948, we can send you some stuff via text message. So text youth to 87948. Now, some of you left some questions, and I said I was going to answer questions. So let me just answer a few questions real quick. Ida, is Joby cheap? I think it is. I like Joby. I own a lot of Joby. I think it went down 11% today, so I'm going to definitely buy some more. Chanel, would you invest Bitcoin in life insurance? Eh, I don't know. That sounds like a lot. I own Bitcoin. I have life insurance, so I like both, but I don't know. I mean, I got to think about that, like what that would even mean to invest Bitcoin in my life insurance. I don't. I have a trust and it has Bitcoin and it has life insurance in it. So if that helps. Let's see. Wendy, Grand Rising, can you drop the list of gold in the chat? I don't have that list right now anymore. If you email support at theblackbusinessschool.com, they can find it for you and email it to you. So support at theblackbusinessschool.com. Let's see. Hi, I'm getting my Stock Market Tuesday emails late after 12. Is there any way to get it faster? Well, great point, Candace. I would log in at the blackbusinessschool.com and register for the Zoom. If you do that, then you should get the emails before because they're supposed to send them an hour before and a week before and a day before. So you should get a lot of reminders and notifications. If that doesn't work, email that email address support at the blackbusinessschool.com and they should be able to fix that for you. I'm sorry that that's happening. Let's see here. Also, I'm not getting my email link for the B1 Real Estate Mastery class. Yeah, email the team, and they will take good care of you, Candace. I promise you. Let's see, Melvin. I've been putting money away for my grandchildren in individual investment accounts. This is primarily for college when they turn 18. Do you recommend me pulling the money out for school when they each turn 18, or keeping the money in the accounts when they turn 21, 25, or 30? Their ages are 6, 4, and 9 months. Oh, good for you. Wow, Melvin, that's excellent. Um, I guess if there are expenses related to college, and then there's specific types of savings plans that are just for college, but I personally think maybe investments in getting them positioned to get scholarships would be good. Just keeping that college cost down I'm a big believer in state schools, not going out of state unless you absolutely have to, because college costs too much. They charge you too much for that, and they'll eat through too much of your wealth. So yeah, maybe taking a little bit out for college, but honestly, I think keeping it there as long as possible is probably, in my view, that's the approach I would probably take. And I'm thinking maybe, like the little tutors or the extra help, making that investment early can position themselves for the scholarship later on. And then when they go to college, I know that our kids, um, we could afford to send them to different colleges, but we didn't pay a lot of money for any of our kids to go to college. The one that went to Tuskegee, I think she got a scholarship. Our other one, he's going to the school that his mama teaches at, right? And even before that, we had him at another university that was a state school. We're not really into that whole $100,000 a year nonsense for college because that will eat through your wealth, and I don't think that it's necessary, to be honest with you. So I would approach it that way. Maybe if you have to, but I think positioning them for scholarships can at least keep that cost down. And then if there's a little bit of money that has to be pulled out to do that, perhaps, but still, wealth preservation I think should be the top priority for the most part. Give your money time to grow. Let's see, Gail, how do you organize and keep track of various platforms and stocks? I just have a few different logins, Gail, and I just, open up my computer and log in and just check stuff. But you don't have to have a bunch of different platforms, but you can have maybe one for stocks, one for crypto, and then that's pretty good right there. Let's see, Andrea. The U.S. government's 10% stake in Trilogy Metals (TMQ) recently spiked that stock. What metals or mining stocks have you analyzed? I own GLTR, a mix of precious metals. Yeah, I saw the thing with Trilogy Metals. What tends to happen is that there are people that follow where the government goes. So when the government puts money into a company, they take off. I can't think of any place where I know where the government money is going to go right now. There's not anything that comes to mind. I have an investment in Intel, and that one took off when the government, or actually, I think I bought it. I bought a lot of it after the government got involved because I felt that the next step of that process was that they were going to step in and help them get more customers and clients. So that might be a similar move for these other companies. But the problem with some of these other stocks is they're almost like penny stocks. They're like a dollar, and then they'll go to $8 a share. And you have to really believe that that company is worth 8 times more than what it was before. I don't typically believe that. I tend to believe that you're overpaying at that point, in my view. Let's see. Have you looked into uh, ISAs? Yeah. Okay. So, well, in terms of that kind of thing, maybe some of the questions like that, specific stock questions, maybe we could save that for Stock Market Tuesday. That way we can go into detail and stuff. We did a breakdown on an AI investing package this week in terms of breaking down AI infrastructure and different companies you can invest there. So maybe we can hit that next time. But um, in terms of individual savings accounts, I personally think they're fine. I don't, or like a health savings account, things like that. Sure, anything that makes you save money is good in my opinion. The stock market is actually a decent savings vehicle too. A lot of people think that you invest in stocks just so you can make more money, but the first step of financial security is not investing. The first step in financial security is saving and preserving some of your income. And so even if your money isn't growing, at least saving, then that's sort of a step ahead of everything else. Now, I don't know if Americans have ISAs. I see Alice says Americans don't have access to ISAs. I want to look more into it, but I don't know what are you talking about the political thing where Trump is talking about giving everybody money in some sort of savings or some sort of account or something from the time they're born? Is that what it is? Or tell me what you're referring to exactly. Because I know ISA to stand for individual savings account, but I don't know much about that particular type of savings account. I know health savings accounts, which I think are fine. My wife has one. So maybe you can tell me more about what you're looking for on that. But saving in general, I think, is just something that everybody should do regardless. And if there's an incentive to save, like a tax break or something like that, then obviously that will be something to pursue. In fact, the first investments that a person should take on are the tax deferred. That way you can keep the IRS out of your pocket. Let's see. Are you going to teach? If you're going to teach children to build businesses, then where are the parents? are going to get the skills to build businesses. Parents don't have to have the skill to build a business to teach their kids how to do that. All you got to do is put them in front of somebody who knows how to do it. And so and the other thing too is a lot of times if you just help them understand why having a business is important, then they'll do the rest. They'll go to college and study entrepreneurship. So don't think that you have to know how to do it for your kids to learn these things. You don't have to be the only teacher. The internet can be the teacher. The Black Business School could be the teacher, right? But you're the leader, you're the parent, you're the guide. You guide them to the water, but that does not mean that you manufacture water. It just means you know where the water is located. So, and then you got to figure out how to talk them into drinking some of it. All right, so let's see here. Is Joby good for options? Yes, I think it is, Candace. I own a lot of Joby. What do you think about autopilot trading app? I haven't seen it. I can take a look at it, James. But if you log in to the drboystockmarket.com and leave that as a question, and I can answer that question for you. drboystockmarket.com. Let's see. I'm investing in options today. Is midweek okay? Then selling on Friday? Sure. I don't think it's bad. Same with me. I think, okay, let's see. All right, Barbara. So yeah, so Barbara, if you didn't get the announcement today, then email support at theblackbusinessschool.com. They can take care of you. Let's see here. Tyrone, what is your course that exclusively deals with selling of options? That's drboyceprime.com. drboyceprime.com. So feel free to go take a look at that. Um, is the All Black National Convention still going to be in Brooklyn? Yeah, that's the plan, Tyrone. Brooklyn's so expensive. We just got to figure out how to find a nice venue that doesn't cost an arm and a leg. And so we don't take big corporate sponsors or anything like that. So we pay for this on our own because we want to make sure everything's independent. We don't want corporations telling us what to say. Let's see, Anna. I haven't been able to access the gold list. Okay. You know what? If email support at theblackbusinessschool.com, they should be able to get it for you. Let's see. Is a startup equity a wise investment? A startup? You mean like a startup company, Mia? The challenge with a startup company is that they are risky, especially if they haven't made any money yet. You're taking a big risk, and also they'll lock your money up for a long time. So I would not invest in a startup any amount of money that I'm not able to let go of for 5 or 10 years. And even then, you may never get it back, right? So just be really thoughtful about that. Let's see. If I'm a scientist, what type of business could I start? I don't know. I guess it depends on what type of science that you do. I would start off by just studying entrepreneurship. Just sit and be in a space with entrepreneurs, listen to entrepreneur podcasts, take a class on it, and just go through the motions of that. And then over time, as you learn these things, like entrepreneurs have a great ability to spot demand. That's what drives business is you having something people want and you making it easy for them to buy it from you. That right there is a more of an instinct that can be developed by being in a space with others that are thinking that way. And so entrepreneurs are really good with that. So just the same way when somebody's looking for jobs, they just kind of know how to know if a job is available or for like we post a job. When we send out an email and we say we got a job available, we'll get 150 applicants the next day, right? Because people can instinctively identify a job. So an entrepreneur, the shift in thinking is you have to be able to instinctively identify a sale or a demand, like for a product, and that just takes practice. Ebony, if you are getting started with options trading, selling cover calls, is it okay to start with one stock? Yeah, I think one stock is fine. It's okay to start with one. Barbara, do you know anything about this Oracle University? Hmm. No, I'm gonna look it up. I didn't know Oracle had a university. I know Oracle. I shorted Oracle stock because I felt like the price was too high, and it worked out. I made a lot of money from that. I just sold the put options yesterday. Let's see, Candace. There was an email sent out for our first free $5,000 stock download. When I clicked the link, yeah, that was actually somehow the word free got in there. But if you email support at theblackbusinessschool.com, they can give you something for free to make up for that. That was actually a mistake. And so Candace, just email support at theblackbusinessschool.com and they can take good care of you. Let's see. Do you like the platform Kraken for crypto? Nassim, I've heard of Kraken. I heard it's good. I don't hate it. I use Coinbase, but I don't hate Kraken. What do you think about Zoom stock? I don't like it, Lewis. I think Zoom stock has typically just not been something I've had a lot of faith in. But then again, though, maybe it's so low now that maybe it's going to actually have an upward trajectory. I think Zoom was one of those stocks that crashed after the pandemic ended because everybody thought the pandemic was going to last forever. Let's see. How do you take profits if you don't have 100 shares? If the stock is the biggest stock in your portfolio, you don't have to have 100 shares to take profits. Taking profits is just a matter of picking an amount of money that you want to pull out and just selling enough shares to get that money out. Profit taking happens a lot with investors and fund managers that just want to. They have a stock, it goes up. Let's say your investments were 10,000 and it goes up to 12, and you want to take the 2,000 in profit off. You just sell $2,000 worth of stock. It's kind of that simple. Or you can sell options on it. Two more questions, then we can bounce out. Nelly, my grandchildren want to know what you think of their business of selling their own product in your book and flashcards. I think that's a great idea. Oh my gosh, that is so good. Yeah, absolutely. Tell your grandkids I said good luck, and I look forward to seeing them at the convention. Yeah, anybody who wants to resell our stuff, like buy it cheap, use our discounts. We give really generous discounts to everybody in here to the point where it's like wholesale price. So like if like autographed copies of my book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. If you go to drboycebooks.com, you should find some discounts there. Or also use the code morning70. It's all one word, morning70. It'll take 70% off almost everything in the store. And literally that price is so low that you can resell it at retail and make a good profit. So if this is your thing, if you love what we do and this is what something you talk about all the time anyway, you might as well make it into a business. It's really fun to have a business doing things that you actually love and care about, and things that you would do even without the money. So don't hesitate to buy our stuff and resell it. Not only do we allow it, we actually invite it. It helps us because we can make a small profit and get the school what it needs, and then you can make money, and then that's the goal, right? Everybody to win. Rising tide lifts all boats. A rising Boyce doesn't lift anything except Boyce, but a rising community lifts everybody, and including me. So I want us all to lift. All right, so Candace, last question. What are your thoughts about Moo? They don't have an option for a beneficiary. I may want to pull out. Moo. I think isn't that an investing platform or something like that? I don't know much about Moo. But yeah, if they don't let you have a beneficiary, I'm not a big fan of any type of account. In fact, this is something I'll tell you that you may want to consider doing right now if you haven't done it yet. All the places where you have money, go in there and make sure that they know what to do with your money in case you die this afternoon. Hopefully, none of us are going to die this afternoon. I don't expect you to die. I expect all of us to be back. But somebody in here could die tomorrow or whatever, or this year, or I guarantee you somebody, if there's 10,000 of us right now, somebody, statistically speaking, is not going to be here in the next year or so, right? So in case one of us happens to be that one out of 10,000, and I don't want to sound grim, but it's real. It's reality. We got to deal with reality. Go into your investment account or your bank account or any account that you have where you have resources in those accounts, and just tell them who should get your money in case you die, right? In case something happens to you. You got to do this. We cannot keep avoiding. I know that thinking about death is sad and bad, but my mama died 7 months ago. I never thought my mom was going to die, but now every day I wake up and I gotta say, man, this is life without my mama. I think about it every day, 5 times a day, and it's life. It's life, right? So death is a part of life. But really, if you plan for your death, then that is a way for you to live forever. So a trust, Greg is right, a trust certainly helps. But if you have the beneficiary right there in the account, that means that if there's somebody who needs your money now, like you might die the day before the freaking mortgage payments due, or rent's due or something, and you don't want your partner, spouse, children, whoever, to have a hard time dealing with 3 weeks of paperwork trying to get access to the money. You want them to be able to come in and say, okay, they died. Here's a death certificate. Here's a picture of their dead body, whatever it is that their banks need. And then they'll let you right in and you can handle immediate business. Okay. So just talk to your banker and they can help you with that. And also we do have a legacy and estate planning club. It's drboycelift.com. Dr. Boyce Lift, Lift. It stands for Legacy Investors for Tomorrow. Legacy Investors for Tomorrow. So feel free to go to drboycelift.com if you want to join us. All right, so I'm gonna let you guys go. Now I'm all sad. I'm out here thinking about my mama again. I just every time I just man, it's so. But a lot of you probably lost parents and stuff before, so you know what I'm talking about. But it's like I don't know if anybody else feels this way, but it just doesn't go away. It's just like oh God, like life just ain't the same, So, but yeah, death happens and you got to prepare for it. So be ready. Death only sucks even more when you're not prepared at all. When the money when you got money problems on top of the fact that you're emotionally devastated, don't do that to your kids. Don't do that all because you want to somehow believe you're going to live forever. Stop that. Get over yourself. Think about other people. Suck it up. Do what you got to do. All right. That's my encouragement for you. All right. So have a good day, everybody.